Proceeding to our next agenda, it is now my great honor to welcome a very special guest speaker to the stage for a keynote on creative economy as Indonesia's next investable growth engine. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming the Vice Minister of Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia, Her Excellency Ibu Irene Umar. Stage is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody is still sleeping at this hour because mostly blockchain and AI tech peeps actually wake up at 7 p.m., I heard, right? So this must be a very good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Naveen, for having us and for hosting this in Indonesia. I'm here representing the Creative Economy Ministry. My minister is supposed to be here, but then we have to split work, and hence I'm here today to speak and say hello to everyone. The ministry is pretty new, the Ministry of Creative Economy, and most of the times we call it as ACCRAF because it comprises not only the ministry, but also an agency. And so if you see lots of pictures in my Instagram doing that, I'm not a rapper. This is the symbol of creative economy. As a new ministry, what we do, so the ministerial function is essentially doing policy making, while the agency function is doing the executions to see how we can push the creative economy to the forefront. Now, I understand that a lot of people might, previously this was Ministry of Tourism and creative economy combined together. But in this administration, we split in two because creative economy is being positioned as a new engine of growth. But I understand that a lot of people were wondering, what is creative economy? Naveen and I, we were just sitting over there and seeing what we could do together. So creative economy in brief is essentially anything that creates a value added. It spans all the way from something traditional like craftsmanship, fashion, handicraft, also traditional dances and so on and so forth, all the way to something that I call as a digital assets creations from gaming, AI projects, blockchain projects, and so on and so forth. So the breadth is pretty large. The fortunate thing about Indonesia is we have a lot of great creative people, a lot of great creative initiatives, a lot of different projects that's happening, projects and events that's happening, peppering all over Indonesia, not only just Jakarta. And this is one thing that I'm very proud of because Indonesia has a lot of hidden gems, and we believe that all creation should not be centralized only in the central of Indonesia, Jakarta, but it also should start from the smallest cities in the world. Why so? Because Indonesia's unique selling points is essentially in our traditions, our culture. Imagine we are the only country that has such a diverse cultures, and sometimes I joke that we are too rich, that we are so confused of which one we should promote first. And hence, with this ministry, we hope that we were able to do some groundwork to reach an agreement, mostly with the stakeholders, the communities, and the local authorities, so that we can agree, let's promote this together for now. Once it hit the great heights, then we'll promote the next one. It's the asas gotong royong, or working together on a community basis. Now, what have we done in Indonesia and internationally? In Indonesia, mostly what we do is we collect hidden gems through a website that's called as Akraf Hunt or Treasure Hunt. And Akraf Hunt, and now transforming into Akraf Hub, is where we see where are the huge potentials and creating of data. If some of you who have been to my office, I bet that you wouldn't know 99% of the products that's there that have at export markets. Can I have a show of hands to check? Is there any gamers here in the room? You can admit that, it's okay. Perfect. So games is under a Ministry of Creative Economy. Do you guys play console games? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's good. Are you familiar with PC games platform Steam? Right. Very good. Do you know a game called as Coffee Talk? Coral Island? A Space for Unbound? Those are games that are mostly unheard of in Indonesia, but are creating millions of dollars overseas because 90% of our games are exported to European countries and US because of the genre of the games. Demographically, Indonesia is known to be a creator of complex games, whereas we are consumers of simple games. So because of the mismatch, a lot of our games are exported overseas. And so what our role in Indonesia with game developers is to open up as many channels as possible so that people are able to access to different global publishers with ease. And specifically to console gaming, we have to make sure that the developer kit is. Sorry, I was looking at a WhatsApp chat here and also making sure that it's not there. Making sure that game developers will have access to that. Where else for the esports sides, what we do is we make sure that our cultural heritage are embedded in esports. So happy to say that I'm sure the gamers clans would know. In the last 1 year, we brought 3 of the world championships to Indonesia, namely PUBG Mobile, Mobile Legends, and also Free Fire competitions. And in all 3, you have batik inside. So now we have official, cool looking, not just a t-shirt, but with a hoodie and all, batik of official merchandise that's a form of batik of all 3 games. And suddenly we become the cool kid in the block. But that's in Indonesia. How do we elevate it to the international levels? And this is where finance and AI will come into place, and I'll hope that we can find solutions here. Internationally, last week, if you do a quick Google search, there's something called as Masa Singapore. That's the first debut that we've done to bring Indonesian creatives to international stages. So what we did with Masa, we brought around more than 100 brands to Takashimaya Orchard Roads, and the exposures were around 30,000 people within 4 days. And as a follow-up of that, B2B businesses flourish. Not only Indonesian brands became known internationally, but there were also the transactions on distributors that will look beyond just the 4 days. Second thing that's still happening right now, in case you missed Takashimaya one, we also did a Gardens by the Bay collaborations that's called as the Masa Statement, where what happened is between 4th of July till 10th of August, we brought together 12 art collectives to be shown in Gardens by the Bay. And basically to showcase how strong Indonesian creative people are. And what does it mean then? Well, it's just a showcase. How does it translate to economics? From now till 10th of August, what we do to all the hotels out there, to all the potential buyers, to all the potential people who like crafts, it's like, go and check out the space in Gardens by the Bay. Because we have the samples of what our creatives are able to do, not only from weavings, but all the way to gamelan robots. Because in the past, it will be very difficult for people to transport more than 20 gamelan players to go to another countries and play for 24/7. The last time we checked, as humans, we need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to rest, right? And hence, we brought forward the innovations that the university in Semarang, not in Jakarta, to showcase themselves there. We also brought Bacalaran sampai Merauke. Now, with all these intricacies that are there, we brought together as well two payment partners. One is a banking partner, the largest bank in Indonesia, BCA, and we give them a task. Guys, I want to show off that Indonesia have kris. At the same time, I also want to show off that Indonesia banks are great banks and will be able to support all these creative personnel, creative agents who are going abroad to receive payment. Please help to solve the problems, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem and also an opportunity for anyone who's in the payment side, where a lot of our creative peeps, right? You can check also Singapore Arts and Illustrations Week every single year, Hong Kong Toys Art Network every single year. We go out, we are not able to receive payments because most people don't carry cash anymore, and because we are just visiting for a week or two, we are not able to receive digital payment. And so that's a pain point that Indonesian creatives are having. So we're asking the banks, please help to solve this. Second, partners that we bring along is CFX in the crypto space and showing them what the creative guys have. And what the potentials are in terms of GMV or transactions that could happen overseas for our local guys without have to go overseas. And so these two, when we invite them, they're like, what are you talking about, Irene? But the moment they hit Takashimaya, Singapore, they immediately get what we meant, and immediately get into actions, so that hopefully in the next Masa in other countries or other movements, what will happen is we'll be starting to see how transactions by Indonesian entrepreneurs could happen globally, be it through banking network, SWIFT traditionally, or be it through any chains. So that's something that I'd like to throw to the floor so that everyone is aware of what we are pushing forward, because payment is extremely important. Second of all is also when we talk about brands, when we talk about cross-border, not transaction, cross-border marketing, we are talking about protections of IPs, right? And that's why in MASA as well, we brought together the Ministry of Law to work closely with us, not just to register the IP in Indonesia, but to see how the IPs that are registered in Indonesia, or IPs meaning intellectual property, it encompasses branding, patents, and so on and so forth, those could also be protected when they are exposed internationally. Because we know historically international lawsuits do happen. The recent one is with Molly and LV, so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen to our brands. And I believe with AIs, with blockchain, you would have the solutions of how IPs could be secured. So I look to see all those papers that could potentially come in from the government itself, from our initiatives. We are working with a couple of chains and a couple of stakeholders to scout out what would be the best and non-partial solutions that could be adapted. Because we all know that whatever that's in the smart contract, it's immutable and so on. So we all know how great it is. But from the governance point of view, from the government governance point of view, it is very different than when it's a community-based project. And so we're looking at a few different alternatives of how protections of the IPs could happen. Now, you might wonder, why is IP protection so important? We all live in this. Okay, we will be living potentially in a decentralized world where co-ownership could happen. Well, that's a very reason for it, because we need to make sure that those are secured to the rightful owners, and if they choose to tokenize or defractionalize later on, the original founder will still keep fractions of what they have. And it's up to them whether or not they want to tokenize it and decentralize what they earn. Now, other than that, if we bring it closer to home or closer to current present state, why is IP important? There are a lot of talks about, maybe in the blockchain we'll talk about IP tokenizations, right? But I want to bring it to something that's more layman. IP securitizations when it comes to banking. Now, if we bring a traditional car or housing to a bank, the bank will come and say, okay, I'll give you a haircut of 15%, 20%, maybe 85% if it's an old car, or you'll be rejected altogether. But when we talk, imagine when we talk about IP securitizations, when we go to a bank and say that, hey, I have an IP or a patent that has been registered, could you value it and can I borrow money from it? I'm an ex-banker. I know not only any country, but under Basel law, it will be very difficult to justify a high percentage. The haircut will be a very high, collateral will be a small percentage. Now, so I would like to urge not only Indonesians, but all bankers all around the world to see how valuation could work so that we could help our fellow bankers to look at redefining the scorecard for IPs, not only IPs that are in form of brands, because brands, if you are selling online, or content creators, if you have a set number of historical payouts, it means you have historical financials that could be assessed. That's similar to corporate loans. When we talk about having patents that has not been monetized, right? When we talk about new brands with great innovations, for example, vegan leather that has not been monetized, that's something that scorecard would be needed to help the banking guys to have the tools to score them, and hence innovation in the creative sector could happen. Now, why is it so complex and why is it so challenging? One thing that's extremely challenging for me in the creative economy ministry is that a lot of people still do not know what creative economy is. A lot of people look at Korea and say, wow, K-pop is so big. But that's because they can't get the tickets. But quantifying how much or how big the creative economy is, we always tend to just look at the brightest, which is Korea at the moment. And right now in Indonesia, there's a movement called as the Drachin, right? The Chinese drama that's gaining popularity as well. Those two countries, they have painstakingly laid down the foundations, at least in the past 20, 30 years. And I'm so glad that in Indonesia, we have started to recognize it, and we are the first country in the world that have a ministry that's dedicated to looking into this, that other countries, especially my Russian counterpart, thank you, is wondering, how do you get to have a ministry? I say, I don't know, you ask my president. I don't know why he come up with it, but that it's very much needed because it's not easy work. Because when we talk about creative economy, even within the cabinet itself, I have to become, in Indonesia, we call it the justipers. Justipers is jasa titipan barang. Meaning, when people want to buy shoes, local brands, who do they call? Suddenly, all the vice ministers, especially the ladies, Nilu, who are standing over here, will call me, Irene, I want to buy a sneakers. I don't want to buy a local, I don't want to buy a foreign brand. Which brand should I be wearing? And I'm like, dude. And that's a very reason why we created an aircraft hub. But transactions can't happen there, right? And we have a myriad of issues that's there from number one is having all the informations in one spot. And then second is making sure transactions happen. And number three is our creative pejuang ekonomi kreatif, our warriors, creative warriors, are very shy and humble. When I ask them, can you go and pitch about what's so good about your product? They're like, yeah, it's out of my passion, and yeah, I'm so happy that people buy it. And I was just looking at them, dude, your products are really good. Why are you not able to sell it? So from the creative economy side, what we look at is not just data, figuring out what we have in the entire Indonesia that not only copy, but use our culture as the basics of their products. Because why? That is where storytelling happens. These are all a room of people from the Web3 space, I assume, right? NFT sells because of stories. And so it means story sells. But we don't want stories that's bullshit, pardon my language. We want stories that are genuine and real and authentic. And we do have a lot of those. And hence, Ministry of Creative Economy work closely with the local government, work closely with Ministry of Culture to find out what are the stories that we have, who are the players that's there, what can we do to uplift them, not in the terms of creating, because our people don't need help when it comes to creations. They are super creative. What they need help with and what our ministry focus on is two things, distributions and marketing. Those are the only thing. That's why I started the speech by saying, we open up doors, we open up network nationally and internationally, and as a gamer, we do it in a gamified versions. How? Whenever we invite people to come, creative guys, right? It's like, look, we have a stage, you can have booth, you can have so and so you can sell. And we will be introducing some challenges regardless of whether they know or not. We'll have mystery shoppers to go and make their life difficult to see how they're going to respond to it. I'm glad most of them are not here. And then we'll assess how they are doing, because whether or not their responses we'll be able to tell whether or not they're ready for a national market and they're ready for international market. Because ladies and gentlemen, we do not have shortage when it comes to demand. We have shortages when it comes to supplies. You will not believe how much vegan leather demand that Indonesia had at certain point in time. At this very moment, you would be surprised at how much demand that the world have on Indonesians' agriculture products. When I found a kemoceng, you know kemoceng, right? The duster that's made out of chicken feathers. That's really difficult to find now. I found those in Jogja. The moment I posted it, I don't need to go far. My WhatsApp started exploding with the other vice ministers asking me, how do you get that duster? It's looking really good. And when I was in Amherst on my way to, I forgot where at that time, I found a tourist, whole bunch of them carrying a backpack with that kemoceng behind it. It's so precious that they don't want to check it in because they're so afraid that the feathers will be crushed, right? Can you imagine if I start actually marketing the kemoceng? How can we fulfill the demand? That is maybe something niche. When we talk about batik, right? The demand for batik is also very big internationally by big brands. I've been speaking to big brands all over the world. And the one question that I'm not able to answer is that, are you able to supply me with X number of fabrics for one season and making sure that the quality is there, the quantity is there? I came home and I can't. So What does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? How do we use technology to control our productions? How do you use technology to make things a lot more efficient so that we can fulfill the demand of what the world have on Indonesia? When we brought just 100 brands out of the thousands of brands that we have to Singapore, all of them, their jaw dropped. And we didn't only bring products, we transformed the entire basement space of Takashimaya using our interior designer, architects, and event organizers. Everyone was shocked at how good Indonesians are. And with that, other counterparts have started calling and asking me, can I speak to your designers? Because it seems that they understand feng shui. Because in every corner of Takashimaya, people flow was excellent. And it's a happy problem, but I wish we could do better. On day one, 50% of our stock was gone. Day two, they started panicking and restocking the products. By day four, 3 p.m., I have to make sure that they will keep and slowly bring out the stocks so that we can cater to the 7 p.m. crowd on the last day. That is how well in demand Indonesia's brands and artisans are. And so we still have a lot of homework though to make sure that our supplies is there, our payment is there, our distribution channels are there, our logistics are there, and making sure that our banking infrastructure, be it IP securitizations, is ready to boost this economy. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to solve everything by myself because I believe in the spirit of gotong royong. My brain is a bit limited. I believe in collective brains. I'd like to invite everyone to make sure that if you have any innovations or ideas, ping me on my Instagram. Would be happy to have discussions and see how we can solve this together. Because after all, no one person can do this alone. Thank you very much.